I refer to red light therapy as ultimate rejuvenation. You can do all this fillers, aesthetic stuff, but this is more superficial. If you really want your body to stay young, you need to be physically active and do red light. Red light is like paramount. It's involved in so many functions, in so many systems.
All right. Well, it's a real pleasure to have Dr. Zulia Frost with us again on the show today. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Dora. It's like fantastic. I love coming back to you and your group because you always asking me very interesting questions. And I'm hoping to help to understand red light therapy more today.
Oh, you're so good at explaining things too, and so we understand the science and how it can help us. And I want to encourage everyone to go listen to our first interview about red light therapy, kind of the general understanding of what it is and what it does. And you gave such good advice on how to choose a red light therapy device and what bulbs to look out for. So that's a whole other conversation that I'll have that episode in the show notes. But today I really wanted to take a deep dive into menopause and menopause symptoms. There is so much that we can do with red light to help a lot of these symptoms. And I want you to break it down and more on red light therapy. So let's do a brief overview on what is red light therapy in case people really don't know what that is.
Red light therapy, it's kind of a branch of bigger field, which in medicine we call it photobiomodulation. Simplistically put, it's basically exposure to light at low intensities, which make benefits for your body. And so photobiomodulation, it's a science of light at low intensity. That's what you need to kind of take away from understanding of light therapy. So if the sun shines, yes, that's when sun shines, it produces different range of lights collectively. And if you put it through prism, there is a breakdown between blue, yellow, red. And so this is different colors of lights. So when we talk specifically about red light, we mean in that visual spectrum of red, which you can see with your eyes, but it also includes the extra spectrum of light, which goes beyond visible. It's called infrared light. And infrared light, you all know because once you've been under the sun on the beach, whatever, it feels warmth in your skin. You don't perceive it, but you feel warm in your skin. So this is infrared light. So red light therapy, it's basically science, how this red, visible, and infrared, which is the closest spectrum of infrared to red, affecting your body. And what scientists found recently, that it's got ability to penetrate through the skin. This near-infrared spectrum penetrate through the skin, and therefore it can stimulate the body and give energy to deeper parts of your body. If you don't mind, Zora, I'll explain a little bit about what this energy means for the body, because it's so fundamental. Again, in the recent years, maybe in the past, people knew about benefits of light because they were sunbathing and they put in people with tuberculosis under sunlight, yes. But in recent years, scientists discovered that when you shine red and near-infrared light to a cell, the cell starts spinning faster, the engine of mitochondria, so making energy more. And your ATP or adenosine triphosphate molecules, which again, like currency of energy, will be produced a lot more in each cells which receive that sunlight. Another way maybe to envisage this is to see how the solar panels work. And solar panels exposed to lights and photons of light absorbed in the solar panels, and then it creates a flow of electron. In the same way, that energy translates in the flow of electrons and protons in the body, in your body. So effectively, when you're exposed to sunlight or red and infrared light from artificial sources, you're going to make your energy faster and more in your body.
That makes great sense, because I think we can all understand and relate to how we feel when we're in the sun, the warmth and the heat, and then how the solar panel analogy is great. We all know solar energy. And so why not? Why not our bodies, right? It makes sense. And we may not feel sometimes things. That's what you're saying. It's when we can penetrate into the cells, we're not quite feeling our cells being penetrated, but they are in the same way as a solar panel. So we know how powerful the sun is. We know that we can harness this light and we can heal our bodies. We can do so much. And I would love to understand how then the symptoms of menopause and maybe perhaps what we can explain a little bit how red light therapy can help a menopausal symptom versus with a device versus perhaps getting outdoors in the sunlight and all that. So let's choose out a couple of what are the big ones that you think that red light therapy can help with in terms of menopause symptoms.
Generally speaking, if you understand what's the impact of this energy on the body, then you can make the bridges and understand, oh, I know, now I understand how it works with joints pain. Now I understand how it works with my sleep, etc. So if you don't mind, I just quickly take your listeners to understand the physiological impact. So when the energy is generated, it also photodissociates the nitric oxide, which makes the blood vessels to dilate. That means in the body there will be more flow of blood in the area which is illuminated by this light. And you're right to mention that there is an effect from the sun and effect from the devices. There will be a difference, of course. And the difference most of the time, it's the concentration. So with the sunlight, you exposed to it all the time and you get in a very small amount of stimulation. But again, if you sit on the beach for 3-4 hours, you get a lot of stimulation. Yes, it's accumulative. What devices are doing, they get this sunlight and give you in concentrated form and give you in a shorter period of time maybe that amount of bigger amounts of energy. That's why you have to be knowing what you do, basically. So go back to energy production. We already know that we're delivering more energy to the cells. We already know there is more blood flowing in the area of where you're stimulating. And what does it mean for the body? When the blood flows, it brings more oxygen, so cells can breathe better, and it brings nutrients, so cells can thrive. Yes, and then also takes the waste away out of the cells. So everything becomes a lot more efficient. So if you think in terms of symptoms, disease, or your physiological state of menopause, you think of how can I optimize my body to go through these symptoms. Yes. So like I mentioned at the beginning, like if people have joint aches, yes, what you need to do to improve the joint aches. We actually sense pain when the oxygen drops in the cells. Yeah. So by providing better blood flow and giving oxygen to the cells, you're already removing that dull, achy pain. But apart from this, you give cells energy, so they feel more vitality, more rejuvenated. And so already you improve the energetic processes and cell goes back to more or less normal function. So you could actually not only to address symptomatically, but you could also influence with light in terms of regeneration.
It makes perfect sense, actually. And we're talking about also the power of the sun, for example. We're talking about sunlight, sunrise and sunset too, because there's a different spectrum of light. So I understand then if we can get outside in the sun, great. But it's not the concentrated form that you would get in actual device. And when you mentioned joint pain, for example, yeah, it would be pretty hard to, I think, to go out in the sun and expect in 15 minutes to have your joint pain go away as much as a red device. You get a lot of other benefits. I believe that getting out in the sun and watching a sunrise, it helps set the circadian rhythm and you're going to sleep better, et cetera, et cetera. But there's certain things that I think red light devices are more advantageous and a little bit easier to incorporate in our life. So, and I've been using actually the FlexBeam red light device for my joint pain because I've been dealing with joint pain for years now. And there's times where I'm just walk too much and then I would throw on the FlexBeam and it really helps. It really improves and it makes sense for that blood flow. I could get a massage. That's the same thing. I mean, people are trying to tweak the muscles so that you get more blood flow. That's part of it. Or acupuncture. All of this is about blood flow. And you've studied Chinese medicine, so you probably know a lot about that too, and all the differences. This is just another fabulous way to harness the power of sun in order to bring in more blood flow so that we can actually get more nutrients to the cells. And just like you explained, I really like the way you explained it. So joint pain, I think there's so many other things too that the FlexBeam can do for menopausal women other than joint pain. That's like the first thing I think about when I think about red light therapy.
One thing I need to mention that the science of red light therapy, it's exploding at the moment. We have an exponential growth of number and quality of studies. So what now scientists are telling us that not only improved blood flow gives you pain relief, but also your body under the light specifically will produce less of pro-inflammatory messengers they call cytokines, and more of anti-inflammatory messages. So when you're actually exposed to sunlight or concentrated sunlight in the devices, then what you're going to have anti-inflammatory effect. So anything when you feel swollen, red, hot, painful, it's going to cool down that inflammation and help your body to avoid these effects. But this is not all. There is some more impact on collagen. This is probably one of the first things which has been studied using red and infrared lights, because impact on collagen is that it makes turnover of the collagen faster. So you rejuvenate collagen. Effectively, the fibroblasts, for example, the precursors of collagen will be a lot more released. Stem cells more released. So you have this whole together massively rejuvenating effect. And the collagen is interesting for us in medicine is for wound healing, because typically wound healing happens within the skin area. And it's very well known effect of red and infrared lights on specifically making faster healing and making scars to disappear faster.
That's exactly what I'm doing right now. Actually, we were the first person I contacted after my hip surgery. I said, okay, staples are out. What can I do to make this scar heal as fast as possible and to mitigate some of the negative effects that you get with the keloid scars and all that? And I'm glad that FlexBeam is in my life. It's in my protocol every day, almost, but I do take those 2 days off because it's not like the more the better with red light therapy, right? You've mentioned this to me in the very beginning when I first started using it. I was like, I'm using it every day. And you said, no, that's not the more the better. Maybe explain why that is.
Yes, it's very interesting you mentioned this, because in the whole science of photobiomodulation, we have a law, so-called law, Artschult's law or biphasic dose response, which means if you give the body energy, so this energy has to have impact on the body. Yes. So when you stimulate, you cannot stimulate endlessly. You need to give a short break. So the body take that energy and put it into work and actually make the repair of the tissue. So what this Artschult's law means, it means if you do it every single day, you get to eventually build up very good results. So when you shine lights, you get the symptoms all gone and everything. But there will be a threshold at one day. And after that threshold, the results start diminishing. Okay, sometimes you don't even get results. Why? Because you're doing it constantly, pushing energy and stimulating the body. By giving shorter windows, 1-2 days, probably a week, you can give yourself the effect which is constantly close to the maximum effect you can get from red light. But if you do too much, then you can tip the pot over and then you don't get results. However, it's the only bad things can happen, that if you overdo, you just don't get results. Unlike with other therapies, maybe some disastrous consequences for you, it's just if you don't introduce short breaks, maybe the results will diminish. That's all.
Oh, okay. So it's not too bad. There's no real damage or harm when you just probably won't see the results. Okay, then you mentioned collagen because we were talking about the joints and how it can bring more blood flow. But what about for the face? Let's talk about red light in terms of our skin. When we're in menopause, it starts to sag and we have spots and we have wrinkles. How can we use a red light therapy device? And does it stimulate the collagen in the face?
Yes, absolutely. It has been showed in many studies because, believe me or not, red light therapy and use of near infrared and red lights actually came through industry of aesthetics. And there is a reason for that because there is impact on collagen. Collagen exists in all, covers all our body. It's underneath the skin, including the face, the neck. And it's a triple helix. So what's happening when you become older? You lose ability to hydrate that collagen, and collagen is bound with water. So when you become dehydrated, the collagen becomes like an old elastic. Instead of bouncy and coiled, it's become stretched. That's why you see the sag on the face and sag on the neck. What to counterbalance this, you need to give body energy, because with energy you improve hydration. This is not many people know, by the way. Maybe I can explain it better. People always associate hydration with water in the glass and water in the human body. They exist in two different states. In the human body, water exists in polarized state. So it's charged, yes? And in order to hold this coiled triple helix, you need a charge to hold it together. And if you're missing the charge, the water is not going to do the job like you imagine would be in your glass of water. So just by drinking, you're not going to put the water in the right polarized state. You need a charge. And what FlexBeam or other devices do, they give you this charge. So all water becomes like polarized and start holding molecules together. So putting collagen in this hydrated state is one thing. And second thing is it's turnover, like it's a breakdown, slows down of the collagen, but good new molecules of collagen comes up to play. So you can see it's a rejuvenation all over. To me, this light is the most powerful rejuvenator.
It is.
And of course, it can be used for face. Why not? And I use it as well. So using for face, you either obviously go in the sun, but you can go in the sun in, like you mentioned, in the morning, in the late afternoon to avoid this overwhelming UV damage. However, UV light is also useful, and we should 20, 30 minutes a day under UV lights. Maybe not in Australia because they have ozone holes, but anywhere in the world is actually beneficial. So when people get the burn and skin cancer, they typically overdo. Yes, overdo their time in the sunlight, but sunlight is hugely beneficial. Again, not everybody can be in the sun. We live in the cities, we're covered with high, tall buildings. So having devices, having like LED masks, for example, is very useful. It will be beneficial for the skin.
So it's interesting to note that the sun damage for, especially when we're looking at carcinoma or skin damage, wrinkles, all that. So we're always afraid of going to the sun, but then we have the benefits of the sun. So when we use a red light therapy device on our face, or even go in the sun in the sunrise, is there no damage at all on the skin in terms of sun damage, whether using device or in the sunrise?
Totally, particularly near-infrared lights. The recent study by Zimmerman and Reiter, they show that they actually, under near-infrared light, your body in the cells which exposed to the sunlight, they produce melatonin. And this is melatonin, not the one which regulates circadian rhythm. It actually sits in the cells in mitochondria. And this melatonin clears the damage, sun damage, reactive oxygen species burden. It actually helps your body. And you can get this also by walking in the woods, because green color leaves reflect that near infrared lights into you. So altogether, being in nature actually hugely rejuvenating, beneficial, and healing. But of course, with devices, it's safer because you don't get the UV lights if you do it in the daytime. Or alternatively, like we mentioned, go in the woods in the sun, but very early in the morning and late when you see this red sort of pink color of sunlight.
Amazing. Okay, so we're actually pretty safe because what we want to do is, especially when we're walking outside, get benefits of the sun, but we're always like, oh, but I don't want wrinkles. So we know if as long as it's the early hours and the evening hours, it's fine. As long as we have a device, it's fine because you're not getting those damaging UVA rays and UVB rays. You're getting the infrared, right? Did I understand correctly? Yeah.
Yes, and always remember 20-30 minutes is okay a day. You're not going to get skin cancer from that. It's short exposure. Sometimes we need it. I was just always thinking nature is such a peculiar thing. We evolved within nature. So our body knows how to get around it. It's like when we do silly things, like overdo things, then things go wrong.
Yeah, being indoors too long or being outdoors too long. I guess it's finding that balance. And maybe you'll answer this question because I was listening to another podcast and it was about light and sunlight. And it was explained that when we get out into the sun in the early hours for a sunrise, for example, we're getting certain rays in order to protect us for later on in the day. So if we were to go outside for 15, 20 minutes without sunscreen, we actually have already that quote unquote protection for later on in the day. I don't know, I can't remember exactly how it was explained, but is this true? And you've heard about it?
It's absolutely exactly what you said. That is exactly what you said. Because in the morning, you get red and infrared spectrum of light. They directly stimulate mitochondria. And also, you just heard that under the infrared lights, you're also producing melatonin, which is a powerful antioxidant. It's a super protection for your body. And if you receive this in the morning, well, again, not everybody can go outside and see sunrise. You can use the devices for this. And the other time would be at sunset time. So again, it protects you. And so throughout the night, your body goes through repair. This is two powerful spectrum of light, which red and infrared lights. And that's why you see lots of devices using this, particularly what they call wavelengths of light, red and infrared, because of their effect on providing safety for you, stimulating melatonin, but also penetrating deep. The infrared light, out of all the spectrum of electromagnetic spectrum, is the only one which gives you penetration depth. So if you ever want to go beyond the skin and treat something inside, because we could have scars inside the body, for that you need near infrared light.
Oh, how amazing. Okay. So let's give somebody a little practical tip. Let's say they're going to be in and out of the house for spurts of 15 to 30 minutes several times a day. They want to get some of the benefits of the sun, but they don't want to get the wrinkles. They want to protect their skin. So either, okay, go out and see a sunrise, but if you can't do that, how would they use a red light therapy device in order to protect themselves later on in the day? And maybe I can understand, maybe share us how we understand that, like maybe a panel and how that I understand how maybe if you're going to cover the whole body, but what about if you're using a FlexBeam device and you actually lay this thing on the body? How do we use these devices to protect ourselves?
Yeah, you're absolutely right to mention that. So they're probably the closest LED masks, but you need to know to make sure they're good quality LEDs and they're in red and infrared. So around 630 and 810, 850 nanometers. And they should be gentle stimulation because they are in a direct skin contact. So they shouldn't be too strong. With panels, it's a little bit more difficult because panels, you can't kind of gauge the where you're standing, or maybe you're standing in front of panels, but you need to obviously shield the eyes. It needs to be different manufacturers give you, because we don't know the spec of the devices. So maybe you stand close, maybe slightly apart from the panel to receive the stimulation for the body and the face and the neck. With FlexBeam, our recommendation, this is FlexBeam with me.
If you're not on YouTube, you're not going to see this, but it's like looks like a belt, and it's got three different red light panels on there. And so what I love about the FlexBeam is I can actually lay it on a body part, but I'm curious to know how to use it for your skin and your face.
So you will need to keep it about 10, 20 centimeters away. And you need to use program one. Program one generates primarily red light. What it means the light will be absorbed at actually within the skin to potentiate that collagen and improve hydration state. So we use in program one at 10 to 20 centimeters, and it's 10 minutes over the face, 10 minutes over the neck, for example, once a day. And you could do it for about couple of weeks, break a couple of weeks, like this. For deeper penetration, you can use program 2 because it's got both red and infrared light. So if you aim into particularly quite saggy skin, you can use program 1 and program 2 alternate one day to next day. And the results will be pretty soon. Within 3 to 6 weeks, you're already going to see good results.
How cool is that? So I love that you have these different levels and different programs. I'm not sure about masks. I'm so curious about them, but I feel like, oh, I have the FlexBeam, so I buy a mask. But it's really cool.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can do so much with yours with the FlexBeam because you have the different programs. It depends how if you want to get on a deeper level or not. And bruising, for example, I've used it for bruising, my scar, my hips, my shoulder, my back. I even tried it for a liver detox. I was putting it on the liver to detox there. And when I share it with somebody who's got gut issues, they always tell me it's really powerful. And they say that it helps them have a faster or a better bowel movement. How is that working on the gut?
Yes, very good point. And I must say that actually, when we did the survey, 30% of our users of FlexBeam, they use FlexBeam on the gut to potentiate the microbiota, to grow good bacteria effectively, and to improve digestive system disorders. So it did really help, and the support for many of them, because I get feedback every day, as you know. So mechanism, how does it do? First of all, you should understand that the food in the gut propels by muscles, kind of peristalsis. Yes, they squeeze in the food down the digestive tube, which is your bowels. And often what's happening, if you're experiencing stress, the bowel goes into constriction, and it constricts. And when it's constrict, the food then cannot propel down the digestive tract to break down and be reabsorbed. And sometimes it's going to be one spasm in one point of the bowel and then another spasm further, and the food in between going to stationary. It's not going to digest, it get rotten, it doesn't break down. So the body then thinks this protein of food you ate become alien to your body. So it starts producing antigens, and then basically you become allergic to certain foods because your body is unable to propel food evenly. So this is one only mechanism of it. So when you shine red light, remember we talk about the energy. So for the muscle, the spasm muscles, in order to relax, you need huge amount of energy, repolarization. And it cannot happen if you just do small amount of, like massage, for example. The human hands don't possess that much energy. You really need like a big jolt or something like strong energy. And what FlexBeam does the best is to produce this massive amount of energy in this short space, targeted energy, and muscles finally relaxes, and the food now can go back through the guts and eliminate it. So you, by relaxing muscles of the gut, also by relaxing the collagen fibers, because collagen, when it's got also in tune with muscles, it's become tangled in like a little knots. relaxing that. So there now your digestive system works perfectly well. That's why you can empty bowels very easy. Any constipation helps, and your body becomes very efficient to detox itself as well.
It's amazing everything that red light therapy can do. You've got so many videos as well sharing how it can help and how to use at least the FlexBeam device. It's one I've been using for the last 2 years, I think now. And you're right, it's powerful. There's a couple of devices in my life, like the Katsu bands and the FlexBeam, where it feels like nothing. This is so easy. Is it really doing anything? And it is. It is really powerful. You just don't feel it all the time in the sense like a massage, you can feel somebody's really digging into you. It's so gentle, but yet so powerful. So I think there's a million and one ways things that it can help with, but there's also very interesting protocols that you give as well. So when we're talking about the gut, it's not just, oh, put it on the gut and you're done. You have a couple of different positions, and maybe you want to explain why you have different positions.
Yes, it's very important to understand the root cause for this gut, for example, issue. Yes, very often, surprise, surprise, it comes from actually low back. So if any one of you had at any stage in your life low back pain, very often what's happening there, back pain creates degeneration if it's for a long time. And the vertebrae start sort of, there is a compression, there is a prolonged muscular spasm of the back muscles. And they compress the nerve, and the nerve which comes in to innervate bowel in the stomach become irritated. So the nerve sends impulses for the bowel to contract. So that's why always, if there is any chronic, long-lasting problem, I recommend you to use both on the gut and in the exact position on the back. Like, for example, if it's in the upper abdomen, then it will be a lumbar area. If it's in the colitis in the low gut, then you need also to use in the sacrum. So there is the link between physiologically. And the second thing I always encourage you to do is to work with your liver, because liver is super important for digestion. In Chinese medicine, we call it a queen gland. She's like very important. So I always encourage you to put over the right rib arch, because that's where the liver sort of close to surface. And then when you put FlexBeam there, you improve liver function, detox, and the bile goes better. And remember, bile breaks down fat, so you don't get any disturbances with your weight just because of that. And of course, better elimination and regular elimination of these toxins out of the body through the bowels also can improve that.
Let's talk about some of the other menopause symptoms, because we think, well, it can help with our skin, it can help with our joint pain, it can help with muscles. We've covered that. It helps with sleep as well. And of course, it brings energy to the body. But what about other things like hot flashes, which is the big one for menopause? Have you had any good feedback on that?
Yes. Lots of women using it for sort of gynecological symptoms. Yes, hot flash is certainly one of them. What the red light therapy could do, because it optimizes the production, the bowel function. Yes, you know how many hormones precursors are built in the gut, like almost for like serotonin, your mood hormone. Yes, for example, 85-90% produced in the gut. Precursor for thyroid gland, it's also built in the gut. And also the mood hormones, neurotransmitters, also built in the gut. So you have this connection, they call it the gut-brain connection. So hot flashes often linked to the estrogen production, so estrogen drops, for example, during menopause, and progesterone drops, but typically progesterone drops significantly more. So estrogen compared to progesterone will be in excess effectively. And it also affects the receptors in the brain. So by stimulating the abdomen, stimulating the gut, you can influence your hormone level. So I also like to remind you that during menopause, all hormones, including testosterone, goes down. So by placing it over the pelvic area, directly, you kind of rejuvenating your body cells in ovaries, for example, to get the processes going. So your menopause doesn't go like you're falling off the cliff. It's just more steady decline. So it helps the body naturally to taper off the hormone level.
Well, I have a new
And
use for it now. Oh my gosh. It's ovarian rejuvenation.
yes, well, that's why I refer to red light therapy as ultimate rejuvenation. You can do all this fillers, aesthetic stuff. You can, but this is more superficial. If you really want your body to stay young, you need to be physically active and do red light. Red light is like paramount. It's involved in so many functions, in so many systems.
Incredible. So I've also consulted you with thinning hair and thyroid issues. It's incredible. And I think that there are a lot of devices out there that are for hair. I mean, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. So if somebody's struggling with brain fog or mood swings, something more cognitive, would you say use red light therapy on your gut?
Absolutely, yes. There is a link. As I said, it's a hormonal regulation link. Well, I would use it on the stomach, but from TCM knowledge, I know that we have this conceptual vessel meridian, one of the most powerful meridians. From TCM perspective, it's your yin meridian, so female. So any hormonal issues, any brain fog associated with the swinging of the hormones, you can place FlexBeam along that meridian over the central line over the chest, and then shoot it down central line over the abdomen, and then put it across the horizontally over the abdomen, so along your waistline on the abdomen, because this is the major energy regulators and they influence the hormonal release. So stomach will be a very good point to use for that.
Interesting. Yeah, you wouldn't use it. We're thinking about the brain. And my immediate thing is, oh, well, let's put it on our head, right? But
Yes, yeah.
approaching it from the gut.
If you really want to influence the brain, you need to work with your gut because it's a reflex zone for the brain.
Mm. So tell me about some of the devices that are out there for vaginal rejuvenation. I don't remember the names, but it looks like a little dildo or something, and it's got red light therapy, and that helps to bring blood flow to the vaginal area, and it helps with UTIs or leakage or vaginal prolapse or whatever you may have, dry vagina. So how effective are these things?
Recently, I had a webinar devoted to that, female health. And it's very interesting because in preparation, you always go trying to find what is the recent research. And I found that, yes, there are lots of companies actually investing to produce intravaginal red light therapy device to stimulate directly. And that is incredible. It's so effective. I looked at the statistics. It's really effective across all the conditions that you listed, and it gives the moisture more because it literally rejuvenates in situ. It's there in the tissue which has been affected by the hormonal and aging process, and you could use it intravaginal. So my advice, yes, go for it. It's thoroughly researched. I would not do it in just local application. I would still work with FlexBeam, for example, and I work across our female meridian at the front and also the spine, very good. And I would also do the liver. So have more systemic approach and local intravaginal approach.
Okay. We can't just put the FlexBeam in between our legs and hope that it just somehow penetrates in there without going in.
Well, I use one point. It's called the CV1 or GV1 in acupuncture. It's located in between vagina and anus, like in the middle. So if you use program one, remember it's a red light, so it gives you stimulation within the skin. You can activate this acupuncture point, and you basically put it in between legs. But you don't need too much stimulation. couple of minutes a day would be good. It's directly re-energized meridians, and there is also we call them wonderful meridian, Chon meridian, which is like mimicking the energy in the uterus. So very good for women who got infertility issues, for example.
It's okay. This is really cool. So we've covered the brain, we've covered skin, we've covered joint health, we've covered the vaginal health, we've covered back pain, scars, hot flashes, sleep. Is there anything else menopausal that's really big? Thyroid, anything else that we should mention that a red light therapy can help with?
Yes, it can. Weight gain. Weight gain. Why? Because red lights, in fact, there is one device which exists in aesthetics, which uses power of red light to break down fat tissue over the stimulating the particularly those tires which we put on after menopause. Yes.
Really?
So we can use FlexBeam over these areas too. It will help to break down, to help cells to expel the fat faster, but together with, for example, fasting and having FlexBeam, and you could speed up this process. And it will be a very natural way to lose weight. Of course, you look at the diet, the regime of the diet and everything. But local stimulation is good. But also remember, we have impact on thyroids if we wanted to. Yes. So often thyroid slows down metabolism. And if we activate thyroid, once again, rejuvenate thyroid, then we could also have impact on the weight. And lots of women nowadays, they become hyperthyroids, Hashimoto, because the lifestyle we have, we under stress every single day. So that stress shuts down the thyroid gland and the whole process slows down. And poor women, they try to do everything, especially after menopause. It hits so many women so hard.
What has FlexBeam done to help your menopausal symptoms?
The wonders, I really had really nice menopause. To start with, I never used synthetic hormones in my active life. And so for me already, everything went natural. But using FlexBeam on regular basis, it really gave me energy. With more energy, I go and exercise more, because when you don't have energy, you just say, mañana, tomorrow. But when you have this like good, stable energy, you just say, no, I'm going to get through it. I'm going to run. I'm going to do it. And then when you come back after run, you feel so rejuvenated, so good. And if you put on the stomach, helps digestion. So you utilize the nutrition much more effectively. Okay, I was fluctuation in weight. By the way, I had Hashimoto at one stage, but using FlexBeam, using supplements, I didn't use any hormones. It's all under control now, and there is no more antibodies, high antibodies in my body.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah, I was curious to hear your own success story with whether it's the FlexBeam or just red light therapy in general in your menopausal transition, because I mean, it's fabulous. You went through it pretty well. There's always a little something. There's a lot of things that we don't think is menopause. And then we go look, oh, yeah, actually, that maybe was menopause related. So it was super interesting speaking with you about this. Let's talk a little bit about the FlexBeam in terms of price, because you're always having sales, but the general cost of it is, I don't remember the exact price.
So it's $549 US plus tax, whatever local tax and shipment. There's not much, no big shipment. And when you buy it, what is interesting, to avoid all the custom things and everything, we ask the customers to put the VAT tax up front. And our company actually deals with so when you order online, it comes to you. You don't need to deal with customs. Although I know Spanish custom is really special, and they want to fill you in the form which says it's for my personal use, not
Yes.
for business to sell.
But you've got so many great sales all the time, and I always encourage people to look out for those. You had a great Black Friday. You have the holidays from now, and you always, whether or not you have the sale, you can always use the code ZORA, ZORA, and you're going to get something off. You get either $60 off if it's during the normal cycle, but if it's during a sale, go use the code for the sale. I always share these things because I use the FlexBeam so much that I'm always sharing it on stories because it's just part of my life now. And I'm always looking out for the sale. So I'll always share that with you. And you'll always get another $10 off extra when you're using my code as well. So is there anything else that we want to share about red light therapy and menopause before I let you go?
Well, just first of all, just always remember this is your non-invasive way to manage your health. And it's so ubiquitous. You can use it for so many things. Yes. And with consistent use, you need to remember if you want to achieve results, you need to have a routine. And it will be all positive routine. It's like very pleasant to sit in the evening and just hug your FlexBeam and watch some like nice movie. Yes. So consistency is very important. And just remember, it goes beyond managing your menopausal symptoms. It's all about your health, your vitality, and your ability to look after your health.
Great advice. So if anybody wants to reach out to Dr. Zulia, you can find her through FlexBeam. Recharge.health is the website. So many web YouTube videos that you've put out. You're on Facebook, LinkedIn. I'll have all these links in the show notes. And if anyone wants to meet Dr. Zulia in person, just like all of our guests who come here, you're always welcome to join the Biohacking Menopause membership group. It's a private membership. It's a support group for women going through menopause. And we always have live Q&As with all of our guests. We always invite them. And you can pose your own questions. So thank you so much, Dr. Zulia, for your time. And I can't wait to see you again.